Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the IVCSD Finance Committee meeting on June 12th. I'm calling the meeting to order and announcing that the meeting is being recorded. And Jonathan, would you like to call roll?
Yes. Topless.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Right. Here.
Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Chumash people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Chumash elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Anascoyo, the land that Isla Vista sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Chumash community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. And now I'll move to a public comment period. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak?
No public members.
Okay, then we'll go right into our discussion and action items with number 3.1, a review of the 2023 budget process timeline.
Well, not to sound like a broken record, I haven't been able to finish those last two annual reports, but we're making headway on them at least. Besides that, we should be able to approve our tentative budget in June 27th, and then we'll still stay on track to make those summer revisions and approve in August. We're on track, but yeah, they will not have substantial effects on the budget, at least those two reports. So that's at least the the good part is that they won't substantially affect the budget.
And we're still expecting to present the budget at the same meeting.
Yes, in 2 weeks.
Great. Any questions or comments? Okay, then shall we look at the 2022-2023 estimated actuals, number 3.2 on the agenda?
Yes, I'll share my screen. And I just did another check of the estimated actuals and how things are looking. For the most part, we're still pretty good. It's a narrower window than before in terms of how much we are going to spend compared to the budget. It's getting closer to the budgeted amount, so that's good. This shows a $330,000 number. It's a little inaccurate, and I'll show you why. Because it's here's the actual estimated end result of the year. The financial impact is 160 because the lack of spending is matched with the lack of revenue, because the things we're not spending on are things that are funded through like the parking study or the.
So we don't pull down the revenue.
So we're not
having the expense.
Exactly. So but we still have a surplus of 160 is the planned surplus. So
that's a nice cushion.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and it might be.
That's before we look at the new funding requests.
This is this year's end year. So like on June 30th.
Gotcha. That's the surplus that will go into the reserve waterfall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Waterfall.
Yeah. It's just it's what we call the reserve. Well, I don't know.
Where do we call it? Waterfall.
It's
I can show. Yeah. Basically, the way it works is like there's these percentages, and the reserves you have to. It's like a waterfall.
You fill them and they flow down.
Yeah, but our reserves are so full that it's not really like that anymore.
It's like a reservoir.
It's more like just add them all to it. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so that's our estimated actuals is 160 end year balance is right now.
All right, 3.3, our discussion on the reserves.
So just we haven't had a direct discussion about this, but I just wanted to give you guys an overview of our reserves at this point. On the budget sheet, you'll have different tabs, and one of them is called fund balance. So that's the one to look at. So you can see on the top, like row 2, you can see where the reserve has grown over the years, 57 to 500 to $1 million to $1,006,000 to $1,009,000. This year we plan to end at $2,043,000.
That's after we put in our 160.
That's with the 160, yeah. And so the way it breaks down is the yellow is UCSB assigned fund balance. This is where we put money that is assigned to a specific program. Now, it's no longer going to be UCSB assigned anymore because we're going to put our parking study money, for example, from the county in there. So it's going to just become assigned fund balance. But assigned fund balance essentially is where, specific projects or programs have their, fund balances that they have.
I mean, I think it's smart to break it out like that. It's visually helpful.
Yeah,
And it's good to keep track of it that way. But why would you put county in with UCSB?
we're gonna change it, because assigned fund balance is just a general term. We started calling it a UCSB assigned because only UCSB money was in there.
But could we put a couple of lines?
We can put anything.
I mean, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
I think that's helpful.
Yeah, so the assigned is, for the programs, and we even started doing that a little bit with like the compost, AS gave us the grants, so it's still UCSB in some way, but yeah, so that's our
I
assigned.
think that's a good presentation myself.
Thank you.
It certainly is, informative.
Yeah, it helps to see where the money breaks out. So it's basically the way it works is it's 20,043,000, and then the other bars are how it breaks out. So 19,000 is what we plan. We don't know how our safety station spending is going to be. We've been having some issues with safety stations because our checks aren't getting cashed. So it's hard for us to track what the spending is. I mean, it's not that hard, much harder, but our budget doesn't reflect accurately what our spending is on safety stations, because 2 checks have bounced, one from last fiscal year and then one from this one, which seriously messes with the with our numbers. So we're trying to resolve that issue.
But we're paying checks as we're invoiced, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we know we owe the money, and the fact that it doesn't clear the bank, it should still be in our reports, right?
It gets minused out actually in the report, but you can manually just add it back in ourselves. Like we can just add up all
Is
the
that a
invoices.
thin thing?
It's thin, yeah.
Oh.
Thin minuses it out. So then we went negative at a certain point in there, which is like,
That seems
plus-
very odd to me.
It is. We're trying to work it out, but essentially we don't know how we're gonna spend our fund balance for safety stations right now, because we do have a small fund balance. Well, it's 37,000. It's not that small, but we have this from them. And that's because last year we didn't fully spend it because of COVID, and just, last year was a COVID year, like 2021 to 22. So we ended with 37. And so hopefully we can spend at least all of this. The goal is to spend what's in our fund balance first before we take money from our annual contribution.
Sure.
So hopefully this year we see, we got all the bills now, they're on our agenda tomorrow to approve. We'll see what that total is. We'll subtract 37,000, and then we'll request from UCSB the remaining amount. So if the program costs 60K this year, we'll ask UCSB for 23,000 and use 37 that they gave us last year. So, yeah, we never adopted it as an official policy, but finance committee a few years ago said we wanted to do like a first in, first out basis for money. So this is like, the first that we got for safety stations. So we'll spend it first before we add any more. The mediation program's actually been on the same grant since 2017. We've been on we've only spent $7,000 on direct spending.
And do we know why the safety station, our checks are being cashed? I mean, that seems like.
We're trying to figure it out.
Problem.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on it, but it's just UCSD sometimes. It's such a big organization that like things get lost, or it's never happened before. So we'll figure it out. But yeah. So that's assigned fund balance. The next one is called restricted. It's just, this is a very obscure thing. It's almost not worth explaining, but it's like ever only like $400. It's like things connected to our investments with the counties, like our money being intermingled with the county money for investments. So it's a zero. It's not an important part of our discussion. The next is what is left for our committed fund balance and our undesignated fund balance. And that's 2 million total. And it breaks up with $1,030,000 in committed reserves. And our committed reserves are 2 strategic reserves. One is short-term, one is long-term. Our capital maintenance of structures and equipment reserves. So if we needed to do any improvements, for example, to our acoustics project, we can take our acoustics project out of that.
Those amounts are set by policy
Those are
that
policy.
we have already established.
Yeah, and some of these, I can get you the exact policy language, but some of these percents are based on revenue and some are based on expenditures. So, it's like 10% of real expenditures, some of them are 30% of planned revenues.
So what would you say is the reason behind it? It looks like the actual numbers changed from 2021 to 21-22, but they didn't change all last year.
No, this is for this year, like 22-23. So they changed from 2021 to 21, 22. But we haven't updated it because we don't know our year-end expenses yet. So we haven't done the ones for this year yet. So they haven't changed because we don't know what the requirements for this year are yet.
Okay, these numbers are, I see them, they're year-end numbers,
Year-end
they're
numbers.
not what we
Yeah.
adopted the budget as.
Yeah.
numbers.
So in column H is what, like, on July 1st last year, or this fiscal year is what we started this fiscal year off with.
Mhm.
So we don't know what we're gonna end yet with. So these will be adjusted at the end of the year.
And that will ostensibly be subtracted from the
Undesignated.
pink
Yeah.
undesignated.
Oh,
That
yeah.
pink money.
The pink
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be,
yeah.
it won't be much.
Right.
Like you can see, the change is only like 50,000 a year or so, maybe 60, 70,000. So it's not much.
I think it's good that the policy automatically grows the
Yeah.
reserves. This is a more technical question. What this money that's in the different accounts, it's invested, right? Like through just the
It's all
Bank
invested.
account?
Yeah.
okay.
And so we got interest like 20,000 so far this year.
Gotcha.
We'll probably make some more too. It's not the most interest you can get, but it's what the county does.
Conservative investment.
Conservative interest, yeah.
Yes.
So that's $1,030,000. And then the second to last thing is undesignated fund balance. So this is money that we have that has no assigned purpose. It's just cash in the bank.
That we created, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then the actual last thing is the fund balance at UCSB. So as of right now, this might actually go up right now because the 208 is based on what our planned requests from UCSB are for this fiscal year, and that's, well, actually it might not go up much. 24,000 for safety stations and 55,000 for community festivals. That's all we plan to ask them for this year, because the parking study got taken out of main UCSD money, not our money from them. Like that was our goal too, is to get it funded through the campus money, not IVCSD's contribution. So there isn't much we requested for this year. We're gonna request a lot next year, so it's okay because we have more requests next year. But yeah, just to know, this might go up a slight amount to like 220 at the most because of how safety station funding ends up falling out. So.
Just on that real quick. So the reason we're requesting less money than program costs is because we have assigned fund balance
87,000
for that program. But the reason that we have that is because we have to request the money from UCSB, but then we contract with UCSB in that particular program's case, and we requested the money, but they did not fulfill the service. This goes back to COVID, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we've got a catch-up thing going on.
Yeah, and one thing I'm doing different this year than I didn't do in the past, or I think we started kind of moving towards it last year, is requesting the money at the end of the year instead of at the beginning of the year. Like normally what I would do in the past is like, oh, the safety station's budgeted for 70,000. Let me go ask for 70,000 from UCSB.
Right.
But then that creates your fund balance issues. So now I'm just gonna see what the final cost is this year and just ask for exactly that much. And so we won't have fund balance because we really don't want fund balance from UCSB because that's gonna really harm our arguments on renegotiating. So this 19,000 is kind of a problem, but it's hard to figure out how to spend it all because we don't get that. Even with the increased demand and use of the mediation program, we can't get near this number to spend in a year. I mean, we'd have to hire essentially staff to draw it down, not with contractors. So yeah, that's a summer conversation once we do the annual report. So we'll maybe figure out a separate plan for this spending later. We can figure out one-time spending or temporary spending for this.
Gotcha. So it's just good to put a pin in it for all of us. The fund balance thing that we have there is not necessarily our fault.
No. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's our fault, but also we requested this money in 2017 or early 2018, and we've been spending it since. It just even the program does get used, it still is a $3,000 difference or $2,000 change, and that's the good year is that much. So,
but also, I mean, it seems to me like fund balance is a normal outcome the way government financing works.
Yeah,
right?
it's true. It's just for
you know,
this one
It's
specifically.
truing up,
Yeah. Just for this one, because we got it funded by UCSB
Uh-huh.
and we want to get we want to get more.
Mhm.
So it's hard to
We don't
say.
wanna
It's a
look like-
sensitive subject because it
Yeah.
can be used to.
But I mean, you can
against
just say it's
us.
a timing issue.
It's a
It's a timing issue.
and it's just this one program.
Yeah.
Everything else got spent
So,
completely.
it's
so.
not worth focusing on just like, other things that are kind of budget dust.
Yeah, I mean the interpersonal violence that's gonna cost like 210,000, and we're gonna definitely request money for that, and it'll definitely get spent. So
Yeah.
we do have a plan to spend it. But yeah, and that does leave you just to add up those two numbers, 1.2 million in undesignated money for next year that we can spend. So that's the reserves, and yeah, it's just up to you guys if you want to have any other conversation or discussion on what to do with this, or where to keep this, where to move this. And yeah, we do, obviously you see next year is gonna be way lower of a reserve, but that's
Theoretical.
the theoretical. I mean, it's really all around the parking study mainly is the one-time spending that we would be doing. That's here, I'll show you in the planned budget. And again, these are rough numbers. I have to figure out where the parking study spending ends up on June 30th and then figure out what's left to spend next year. So it's not 100%, but 88,000 for our master plan redo, which the students seem to have already done for us. I'm just joking. 55,000 for the parking study, the housing assigned fund balance, and then 15,000 for the furniture at the community center. So that's the reserve money we plan to spend next year. But that does add up to enough to lower it down to this much. Because we also will spend down the UCSB. I mean, that's the goal. This 18,000 left, we probably want to figure out a use for it. So that's another thing to put a pin on, like what can we spend $18,000 on that UCSB would be interested in? Because that's we probably want to spend that next year.
And they have to approve it?
It's like a mutually agreed upon projects deal.
Uh-huh.
They've agreed to everything except one. And that was the community gardens. That's why we ended up doing that as a grant program. There's all the history behind it, but because UCSB didn't want to fund it.
Well, one thing that comes to mind that we've been really successful in is growing the beautification program, and I know it's been brought up, the idea of refurbishing some of the wayfinding, like the Islands to Sign, which I know is on UCSB property.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a nexus there for requests.
Interesting. Good idea.
We talked about the flags on Park Hall too, right?
We did. We are working on that steadily with Shirley. We're coming up with a plan. Yeah. It'll be pretty cheap. It'll be only around like $5,000 per flag installation. So you can, if you want 5 a year, it'll be 25,000.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I would say, I mean, we might be in a budget situation where we might have to make a couple of fund balance funding of things that's the next topic is like, technically the budget is at a $65,000 negative right now, but we haven't finished the revenue yet for the year. We still won't know what our full revenue is, so it could be better than that. But that's just something to know is we don't have a balanced budget yet. So that's something the fund
And we're
balance.
also expecting to ask UCSB for less money next year.
More. Like from their
Wasn't
contribution.
it just the two pieces that added up to like 65 or 70?
That was this year's.
Oh, that was this year's.
Yeah, for next year, we were looking to ask for, this is what I had just noted down on our list is interpersonal violence investigator 210, safety stations 90, and this is a very temporary number because we really don't know what's gonna happen here. Festival 55, public art 15, and move out 20. And that's, I think adds up to this 390,000 number. So we're actually gonna ask for double the amount than usual next year.
And the new requests in there are move out.
Move out and art, and I just added these because they're like possibly things they can agree with us on that are one-time funding kind of sources. So, because it's not staff or anything. So, we could up the move out to be honest, if we needed to. 20,000 may be low now that we see how that reform thing goes.
So just in general for, like the fund balance that we have now, one thing that, I would definitely be interested in seeing is if we can commit some of that to like say like a, real estate property fund, because we're gonna have needs that we know coming up, especially associated with parking. And so, I don't know if it's wise to call it that or to list it out, because maybe that would not be good for if a potential person that we're trying to buy property from could just look up and see how much money we have budgeted for that. But I would like, I would be supportive of an allocation towards that. I guess it'd be a one-time allocation.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that would be a great thing to designate very well.
Okay, let me look up if there is a property line item in there. So new committed balance.
Or if we just wanted to do it by just upping the percent that we're putting in long-term strategic
You
or
could do
something
that
like
too.
that.
You could put in the capital outlay maybe, because it's all capital projects.
Right,
probably, so.
Yeah.
Yes, so we can just increase one of them. Because we did that for the community center shade structure, we put in 50,000 into the capital fund to help on that, so.
That's right.
Yeah, any other thoughts on this?
Just in general for our new funding requests, I think that it looks like the total on that tab is 327. That includes the IVI.
Doesn't include the CSOs.
Does not include the CSOs. So the CSOs is still the big blank number. I guess I will just say in general, if where I'm thinking right now for all of the new funding requests that we have is I would like to support all of them. And if that meant that we had to draw down fund balance and fund some things on a one-time basis, I would be open to that, because I think like we talked about last time, there's a good in just spending the money that we have, and
Getting value
if
for
we
our
are
citizens.
saving money, having it designated for what we're going to save it, and not just have this big fund balance that could look like, we're just saving our money.
Okay. That makes sense. And we haven't finalized the compost collective budget request, but I did seem like from our committee meetings so far that we would need to do deficit spending in that program specifically to be able to ramp up to do some of the goals we have. So it makes sense that we, like, there is a very clear nexus. The other ones we can work to, but for that one, it's come up in our committee. Okay, well, maybe should we move on to the full budget now? Or do you want to do festival discussion? I didn't have much for that. I just wanted to go over something briefly with you guys.
Sure, let's move on. If no one has anything more to say about reserves, we'll move on to 3.4, the community festival discussion.
I kept this one at 110. I don't know how we want to approach this, and maybe it needs a fuller board discussion, maybe not, but 110 is what we had this year. The idea split between it was 15 for Halloween and the rest for Deltopia. We used around 90, 95 maybe total. It was 15 for Halloween, 75 for Deltopia. We had talked about sponsorships. We didn't do them this year. It was short timeline, so that's another option. But just wondering, is this the number we want to stick with? Is this a number we don't want to stick with? It's a one-time expense technically, so we can fund this one time because it's not ongoing. You can cut it anytime you want or reduce the, scope if you need to. But yeah, just wanted to make sure this number is the right number for us.
I think it feels like the right number.
Yeah.
Cool. I agree. And I think that if discussions progress with IVRPD and if there's a need to fill the gap in the budget and there was a request made to the board for fund balance, like that's something the board can entertain, whether or not we want to do that.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good starting point, and I hope with that additional planning partnership with our IVRPD, some of that sponsorship can be realized to help ramp up that way outside of the subsidy that we give the festival.
Yeah. It looks like they're gonna do their own thing for Halloween, but we'll probably hopefully plan.
For Del
for
Tote, yeah,
Del
is what I'm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
understood. That's the one that's a most important.
That's our big one for
Yeah.
us, yeah. Okay, that's it on this one. Just wanted to make sure the 110 was right.
Okay, 3.5, the 2023-2024 draft budget.
Right, well, I'll just give you the top line numbers and then we can go into any specifics that you guys want to go into, but for our revenue projection, it's about 1.3 million. It might end up being, it'll probably end up being 1.4 million for the utility tax, but we don't have May money yet or June, so we don't know. And this can change, but we had some board discussion on this, but I put in 15,000 each for compost sales and community center rentals as like a projected. Yeah, we'll see what we can get. 15,000 here is the trade-off money between us and Santa Barbara County for the management and rent of the first floor. So that's a zero essentially. And then we put 2,000 here for Ivy Beautiful as charges for services in case we start doing services for private property, which we've gotten a lot of interest for. Yeah, so we can clean up for them and we'll, if it's in public right away, we'll keep it free. If it's beyond that, we technically should charge since it's private benefit, but we're out there. So we put a small amount there as a potential, but we've been talking to businesses, so we'll see if we can send that. But yeah, so that's 47,000 on that area. You'll have a lot of money from other governments this year, 55,000 for the festival, 300,000 for safety from UCSD for the CSOs and the investigator, the parking money, and then this 35 is if we request to move out of art money from UCSD. And then this 10,000 is sponsorship. So that's, I think we should be able to do it this time now that our event is actually,
And what does that look like?
we don't know. I mean, it came up last time.
I know.
Like it's come up at the board meetings almost every time we've discussed this event is like, can we get sponsorships? So for a couple of years, it's been an idea. So,
And I mean, do you have any idea what that would look like?
we were thinking local companies
Would,
like Santa Barbara.
Give us money to
have an ad.
advertise at our event.
Yeah,
And, I mean, that's basically it.
Yeah, like a
Money
banner ad.
for publicity.
Exactly. Yeah. And then finally, our fund balance spending, which is 15K for furniture at the community center, 19,000 to spend on our housing, our parking contribution, and our fund balance spend for the master plan report if we move on that next year.
What does that mean? 19,000 for housing?
For the mediation program. Sorry. All right. So and then that's a revenue of 2 million, almost 2.1 million, which is honestly very big and more than we ever imagined, but a lot.
You're grinning.
Original projection was between 250,000 and 512,000.
Yeah, so a lot bigger.
No wonder you're grinning.
Yeah.
You're grinning too.
Here's the big one is our salary area has grown a lot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're planning for almost $1 million in salaries next year. That's several positions now. It's our program managers, 3 of them, management assistant, general manager, community engagement director, 2 project managers, and all the interns.
All the new people too.
Yeah. So lots of funding going towards this area, but that's our staff. And then our services, I can go into each program, but we've been doing that for the last 6 months. So I don't know if you guys want to repeat that, but it's 1.1 million in the direct costs for programs like contracts, supplies, advertising, all of that. And then thankfully, I told you last time our insurance had gone up. It did not go up that much. It actually was pretty controlled. So only 32,000 for insurance this year. And that gets us at 2.1 million in spending. And so that's where our net financial impact right now is negative 56,000. Plus a planned use of 178,000 of fund balance, so we would end up with 1.8 million fund balance next year. that's the planned budget, and I can make those adjustments, like you all said, like if we want to do draw fund balance down, I can make that zero essentially by adding that assigned fund balance draw specifically to one of these areas. But, yeah.
So then we'd be drawing as much from fund balance as our initial projections of how much our annual income would be.
Yes, I mean, yeah, pretty much.
That's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
It is.
Well, we
Don't
should,
you love fund
we should-
balance?
yeah. we should do that before it goes to the board for preliminary adoption.
Yes, oh, we're like adjust all of this?
I added the.
Oh, yeah.
Six.
Oh, yeah, but for sure, yes, I will make all the edits before the meeting next week, and there'll be the budget letter that we usually have that. It'll be a tentative one for sure, because it's a tentative budget, but, yeah, we'll have all this in detail for the meeting next week, and it's. You know, you guys know all this, but I'll explain each program and why it's getting that much and what's that including, so.
And when we look at our wage costs, have you done any projections about what that might look like over time with regular,
Yeah.
step increases and potential COLAs?
I have only done 1 year out, but
Mhm.
I need to do that.
I think
That's on my.
probably
yeah, let
the
me-
board would like some sense of where that might go.
Yes, let me put that in right now, as I can get that done before the next meeting, because it's mostly just some math.
Yeah, and of course, it'd be very fluid. And then especially for the intern positions, we would expect a lot of turnover, and we could float some vacancy if we felt like
Yeah.
we were getting into trouble, whereas you would feel more of a commitment to your permanent staff.
Exactly. The intern ones are really hard to budget for, especially because we don't know who's gonna stay and who's
Yeah,
gonna turn, who's
no.
gonna get the 1 year raise, who's gonna not, who's gonna leave,
Yeah,
so.
so anything you do, I would just say back of the envelope kind of thing.
Yeah, with interns, we usually plan by hours, so we say, oh, well, here's 68,000, and that gets you 5,000 hours of work. And we can allocate those 5,000
Mhm.
throughout the year as work is needed to be done, but yeah, so. We've tried to go more in that direction for the hourly jobs, because it's, hard to really predict sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, this year, we didn't spend our intern money at all,
No, I
and so we
remember.
ramped
It took
up.
us a long
We
time
ramped
to
up for
get
spring
those
quarter, but
positions.
now we're like slightly over on Maya's area on intern spending, but it's like only 1,000. But still, it's like, it's hard to plan for.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think it had an impact, because this spring quarter was
I think
events
we've been
every
doing
week.
Wonderful work.
Yeah, so.
Really, I'm so proud of what we've been doing.
Yeah, and we got our video system up now, we're like on TikTok, so we spent
Oh,
some
cool.
money, we made some spending
Yeah, very
investments
cool.
to get us to some places, so. But yeah, the budget's looking good, I not share it anymore, but yeah, I think it's overall good. There'll be some adjustments for the summer, like a couple things.
Mhm.
I think we'll just end up looking at like what all the end actuals are, and like making sure that we're good with the actuals compared to the budgeted for next year. I think that'll be one exercise that we should do, is comparing the actual actuals. But yeah, I don't have much else.
And then in terms of the summer, I know we're gonna try and get the community center efforts done
Mhm.
with the acoustics and so forth. And then we'll probably lose a lot of interns because people will be graduating and moving on or going home or whatever it is.
Yeah,
And then are there other like major projects that we should be hitting hard in the summer because it's lower census around here?
yeah, Maya is working on a list of community center projects to do. So the acoustics is the big one, but we want to do a bunch of smaller things as well. In terms of like physical things that we need the summer for, I mean, there's gonna
Not
be
so much?
not so much. I mean, like Ivy Beautiful is gonna work with the county on like, the bike, like the abandoned bike removal, but that's not something we spend money on. So yeah, I don't see anything where we need to spend on
I
like
was
an
thinking more of
investment.
work plan, I
Work
think,
plan.
than money per se.
Oh yeah, work plan. I mean, we have, the compost collective, we're gonna continue working on that. Ivy Beautiful is a lot of prepping to do. We're gonna do like our welcome back sale, so that's the first time we're gonna be figuring out our payment acceptance system this summer,
Oh,
because
that's a good
we're
one.
gonna be selling things now. We're
Yeah.
selling compost and we're selling, yard sale stuff, so we're gonna be figuring out how to accept money and and all that.
And
So
keep
that's,
it safe.
and keep it, well, we're gonna try to keep it all digital, but yeah.
No, that could be the way.
Yeah, no cash.
Yeah.
Maybe, no, maybe some cash, but yeah, so that's one project for the summer is figuring out
I
our,
think no gas is not a bad idea.
yeah, well, I mean, it's just like some people only have cash. That, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they can give it to their friend. And
Yeah,
their
then
friend
they
can
can-
pay.
yeah. We don't know, yeah. But yeah, and then the trash cans on Pardal, we hope to,
Yeah.
that's one of Jenna's projects that she's hoping to get done this summer. They've actually even removed some now, so like we have less trash cans than ever. They were broken, they were like completely gone. So yeah,
Wow.
we're hoping to do that this summer. What else is happening this summer? Off the top of my head, I mean, we have the new project manager for community engagement, so we'll be getting him up to speed and trained, and
Sure,
I mean, he's
sure.
being trained right now, but you know, really starting his job and getting,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. We just hired somebody.
he's hired, yeah,
Oh, cool.
his name's Jimmy, and yeah, he'll be starting, he just started, so
Oh,
we'll do a board introduction next week or next week.
nice.
When we get the trash can project completed, we should really do a big ribbon cut and
Oh, yeah.
make it super
Mhm.
snazzy.
That was-
Because this has been a long time coming, and it's so awesome that we're
God,
so
if we
close.
can combine it with
With
like
the flag.
banners or something,
Yeah.
yeah.
There you
Like
go.
part all
Just a
revamp.
part all
Yeah.
now. Maybe it's like a welcome back to part all thing. You wait to do it until
That could be cool.
UCC
Yeah.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do want to do the banners before welcome back time. Like we want to be able to make the first round to be move in and welcome back related.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll
Awesome.
be good. They'll be good. And the county did agree to pay for half the trash cans most likely. So
Right.
we'll at least save some
Very
money.
good,
We'll save some
very
money,
good.
but we'll have to
Yeah.
budget for that one. So I think it's only gonna be 10 to 15,000 that we have to invest there.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, so any questions or comments about the draft budget? Any direction for Jonathan?
I think I got it, which is make it balanced by the board
Make
meeting.
it
We can do that easy.
a balanced budget.
Balance with our own funds.
So, is that it?
That's it, that's the agenda.
Okay, so the next regular meeting of Finance Committee,
I thought there was one more thing. We're looking at the wrong meeting, the wrong agenda.
And that's it.
Okay. That must be-
the next one is set for Monday, July 17th at 5 o'clock on Zoom and at the office at 970 Embarcadero Del Mar.
Perfect. And you guys will see a special meeting go out in a second for our we're gonna yeah, it was not, we
I
didn't
saw
even
it.
know we would get the proposals, but we're
Yeah.
gonna fund the acoustic projects hopefully
Yeah,
more.
no,
One
we're
of
gonna
it,
get
round
on that
one,
for
round
sure.
one. So the wall covering, which is the more important part of the project. It's actually two separate projects, two totally separate things that. All right,
Okay,
that's it.
the meeting is adjourned.